Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hey, how you doing today? It's Mike Matthews broadcasting from Café Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Mont, the last place on earth. It's episode 1612. Today, we have some people stopping by. Mike's Daily Podcast. I'm sorry, that was the last show, 1612. 1613, 1613, 1113. Mike's Daily Podcast. 1613. I can't pronounce numbers and digits. I had some issues yesterday that were full of shaving cream. I don't use that anymore. I used to buy the gel and it foams up and you can store it in your bathroom because you'll need it there once you shave. Mike's Daily Podcast. Here was my issue yesterday. I come home. Do you know what a birch tree is? It's a beautiful tree that it's got like daily beautiful green leaves podcast that are kind of thin and shimmery. Yeah. And the rest of it kind of droops down, kind of droops over, and they get rather tall. And the base, the trunk, if you will, is white, and it has kind of this papery, almost bark to it. But actually, wait, no, it doesn't. Okay, I take that back. But it does have a white trunk and base and branches. Look who just walked in. I'm telling a story. I'm revealing a bit of myself, Shelley.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Shelley and Stuart, the Strap Sterilizer. I like trees, and they give us oxygen.
Yes. Love's like oxygen. And we need oxygen in our lives, Shelley.
What was that song you were singing? Was that Justin Bieber?
Sure. Look who else walked in. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. We love trees as well. Yeah. I used to hug them till they got really messy and they had ticks. And then I'd have to clean the floor because they dropped their leaves. They dropped their leaves everywhere. I'm not on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm not that guy, the really tall guy who tells dirty jokes all the time. Albert Brooks' brother. Yeah, I'm not him. Because I'm Floyd the Floorman. Excellent. Yeah, so the podcast picture today is not of this tree, sadly, but...
And here's today's podcast picture.
Later on in the day, after the tree issue, which I'm about to reveal, I had to take my dog for a walk. So we went to Fairmont Ridge, and Basil and I ran into a bunch of people, including a guy named Mike, who told me he doesn't listen to my podcast. But but we're Facebook friends, but he doesn't read my Facebook posts because he unfollowed all of his friends. Because he wants to only see postings from news organizations. Because that's the best place to get your news is from Facebook. Am I right? No, I'm completely wrong!
We have a basic responsibility to protect people's data. And if we can't do that, then we don't deserve to have the opportunity to serve people.
Mark, here's an idea. Drop the the.
Drop the the. Just Facebook.
Don't call it the Facebook. Just call it Facebook. And... don't call it the Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Just call it Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Because that's too long. Too long. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com is the website you can go to listen to all the past shows and see all the past podcast pictures, including the one today, which is of the wonderful Basil the boxer as he is eating grass alongside a... Ouch. Cow! Get along, little doggy. Woo! Oh no, the cows are coming for us. They're just knocking everything over. Cows. My point being, it was a cute moment. Oh, there was a... so we're on this paved path. You can see a little bit of the path there. which Basil doesn't like to walk on because he's getting older and it kind of hurts his paws. It just happens with dogs. They get older and, you know. But he was enjoying the grass there. Eating in the grass, eating in grass, grazing in the grass, grazing, however that song goes. And then we're walking along, and there were these 3 cows standing in the middle of this paved path, just standing there staring at me like, okay, you make your move. And we had to walk around them. It was intimidating. Damn cows. Moo. I was going to give you one more moo fact. Thank you. The point being that I wrote down yesterday, after doing my Mike's Daily Podcast, episode 1612, now this is 1613, I was going to talk about manscaping. Manscaping, because I have a hairy chest. I don't mind telling you. I look at these stupid indie rock pop bands that are all over the TV. No, they're not. We don't have MTV anymore. But they're all over the internet, all over YouTube, if you look up music. All over frickin', what's that? All your alternative stations now play a bunch of indie pop. And my point is that none of the men have any hair on their chest. They'll have the cool beard and maybe the side shaved thing, the lumberjack look, but they don't have any hair on their chest. They don't. But I was talking with Kevin the other day, and we were with my friend, and she's from a heavy Catholic family. Kevin comes from a heavy Catholicism leaning family. And suddenly she said something about I forget the exact quote. Kevin will have to tell this story on the show at some point. But Kevin said, "Oh yeah? You're talking about Jesus or something it was?" And he pulls out, he's got this crucifix underneath his shirt. Pulls out this big crucifix. And she's like, "Wow! Wow!" Like that. Actually, no, it was more like, "Wowie, wow, wow, wow." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm Italian. I got the hairy chest and everything. And I was good for freaking you." That's not tacky. No, that's great, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's like, go! Show your hairy chest. Don't get manscaping. Don't shave that chest. Leave it alone. Of course, shower. Maybe throw a little shampoo on it if it's really hairy. You know, you want the hairs to be, they don't want them to be crunchy on your chest. You want them to be nice and soft, and so that a woman can pet you like you were at Basil. And Basil and I, Basil's one of those, is a boxer, and their hair doesn't get very long. It gets about this long, but really small, and it falls off. It's like that. It's kind of like me on my head. They just fall off, the hairs. But the point is, damn it, men, we need to take back our hairy chests. And all these little girls that are like, "Oh my God, that's like so gras." That wasn't even a sentence.
Right? God.
That look at the hairy chest and go, "Ah, God, so disgusting. I want to date a guy that looks like a girl." Why? I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Don't ask why, but dry. Why ask why? The point is,
sweet,
that people should be allowed to do. And you know what? Let women grow their friggin' hairy chest too. And armpits and whatnot. I'm just saying, don't get rid of deodorant. If everybody's going to have hairy armpits, we need the deodorant. And don't try and make your own deodorant, because basically that deodorant is called muck. That doesn't work. You might as well just throw sand up there, because it's got the same effect. My point is, you know, there's mercury in the deodorant, supposedly. That's what I hear. I don't know. I don't have a stick. What do you call it? By men, and one of those sticks that you use a deodorant stick, as it were, near me at the moment. But yeah, supposedly there's all these chemicals going into your body. But the people that make their own deodorant stink. That's all that. So that's the conundrum we face. That's today's. What the heck is what that is? Do you know when I first got on Twitter, I was going by Matt Michaels in Ventura, California, because I was on the radio there at K-Hay, and that's where a lot of these characters you hear at Café Anyway come from. And thank you so much for coming to Café Anyway. Anyway. And one more cow effect. That was a mean cow. That was a mad cow. And my point is that back when I lived in Ventura, and it was a wonderful time, and I was Matt Michaels, somebody said to me, hey, there's this new platform called Jocelyn. I used to have a friend named Jocelyn who we did a show on Wednesday night on the country station called Worldwide Wednesdays and talk about the internet, this newfangled thing called the internet. And she was really into it. And she said, yeah, there's this new website called Twitter. You should sign on to it. But it was linked to, it was like hard for people to get onto it. I forget exactly the reason why. I signed onto an account with my name at the time, Matt Michaels, and I was on it for a little bit, and then I for like 2 days, and then I just canceled it. But I could have had one of the oldest Twitter accounts of all time had I stayed with it. Years later, I went back to Twitter and called my Twitter account Mike Has Something to Tweet About. It was a ridiculous long name. Now it's just Mike Talks, which you can find me at Twitter, Mike Talks. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com, drop the. And Twitter, by the way, their stock is doing really well. And people are just, they check on it. When Mark Zuckerberg messed everything up on Facebook, people were, hey, I'm going to drop Facebook, go to Twitter. I'm going to drop the and go to Twitter. And of course, El Presidente uses Twitter.
He's a showboat. He's a grandstander.
My point is, Steph. Oh, okay. One other thing that happened that I didn't get to on the last show at that event with Kevin, addendum with Kevin. He got into it with the waitress because he said to her, "Look, this is going to be dealer's choice. Because I want one more beer, one bottle, one scotch, and one beer." And we were discussing George Thorogood at that point. But then he said, "I'll bring it here, another beer." And so she brought a beer, and he said to her, "Don't tell me what it is. I'm gonna by sipping it, drinking it, I'm going to tell you what it is, because I know what all beer tastes like." And he had a fancy word for it, which I don't know what it is at the moment because I'm doing this at 5:49 in the morning. And so he drinks it and he goes, "Oh, it's this." And she goes, "Nope." And it was like the biggest friggin' insult. You don't say nope to Kevin. You lie. And you say you were right, Kevin, the whole time. Ding, ding, ding. But he apparently was wrong. But then, as the conversation unfolded, it turned out that the brewery was, in fact, wrong.
Wrong.
They had misnamed their beer on the menu. They had misnamed the fundamentals of the beer, what kind it was, etc. At this point, I lost the thread of the conversation, and I went into my little world where I have this wonderful music that plays. It's kind of jazzy. It's kind of smooth. And I go into this world. It's so nice. And everybody in my world dances and wears fancy clothes. But she said, so Kevin's sister said, "Oh God, I can't wait to hear about the beer story from Kevin. I imagine the waitress doesn't even drink beer, so she was extremely irritated." Quote, "I don't know. It said beer on the handle." Don't they all just taste the same anyway? And that is exactly how she was.
Right? God.
Nail on the head. That's the funny thing. But it's hard to find good help. But these, I mean, they make a lot of money off the guys that guzzle a bunch of beer. And they charge $8 a glass. And so they're making bank, but they don't know the beer. And she actually said, the waitress said, and I'm sorry if I'm PCing it wrong and not saying food server, but dang it, there's a mystique about the word waitress. So she's making bank. She should know a little bit about the beer. But she was a very nice waitress. She was from Portugal, and we talked about that last show. And that's neither here nor there, or Portugal the man. I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been doing this since 1986 now. That's when I graduated high school, and Starship. They built this city. Here's why Subway could close another 500 restaurants. Fast food sandwich chain Subway expects to close about 500 stores. There's 500 too many Subway stores anyway. Let's be honest. When I lived in Alabama, in the small town of I worked in Athens, lived near it in the area of Madison, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. But in Athens, Alabama, there was a Subway close by to the radio station I worked at. And I would go over there, and I would walk in. It was in a gas station. And I took one step into that gas station, and it stunk of cigarettes and Subway. And that's not the best combination, my friend. So I turned around and walked right out. That's why there's too many Subways. But it's also hoping to open as many as 1,000 stores over the oceans, overseas, over there. The company has 44,000 locations globally, more than any other retail. Ronnie Jackson has withdrawn his nomination to lead Veterans Affairs. He is almost as old as I. Oh, no, wait, he is older than me. He's from Texas, a little bit older. Graduated from Texas A&M and the University of Texas Medical Branch. The White House physician withdrew himself from consideration following numerous allegations of professional misconduct, which he has denied. Prince Harry has asked Prince William to be his best man at the royal wedding. That's going to be very nice. Prince Harry has asked his brother Prince William, both sons of Prince Charles, Prince of Wales, to be the best man at his wedding next month. Kensington Palace announced this. And they blew their trumpet. We want to announce the Duke of Cambridge's orders have been asked. It's very much looking forward to it. Then North Korea. Do you remember they were having earthquakes and whatnot after all the nuclear testing they did last year? Well, research by Chinese geologists in Beijing, where my roommate is actually right now, suggests that the mountain above North Korea's main nuclear test site has likely collapsed. The collapse has likely rendered the site unsafe for further testing. Maybe that is why North Korea is interested in, maybe we'll go to the table and do what Trump wants us to do. Maybe that's the good thing to do right about now. Because we don't have a Trump sound effect. No, that's not a Trump sound effect. Damn it!
He's a showboat. He's a grandstander.
That's all I have for you right now, is that one. I thought there was another one on this page. Oh, well. I do have Homer. Okay. Well, the point is that is going on in the world. There was a Castro Valley shooting near my house recently. Nobody was hurt or killed, thankfully. And in the same incident, a 5150, that's right, a Van Halen album took place. That's a mentally disturbed individual was apprehended. And that would have been, was it Van Hagar? That was the Van Hagar stage, wasn't it? The point is, I found that out through nextdoor.com, that website that sends you alerts, people asking questions. Hey, what's that smoke coming out of the ground? What's that? And other questions that may be of importance. Nextdoor.com. Have you been to it? It's trying to take on Facebook since they dropped the, and since they dropped our security, Nextdoor, and they're competing. And a lot of people I know are using it, Nextdoor.com. But not to give them a plug or anything, but I did. Anyone know why the police have the corner of this street and that street blocked off? And you get questions like that, and I find it fascinating. I found out about a pit bull that was running around the hills in the wilderness next door to where I live in Podcastro Valley. And people would see this pit bull just running around, not hurting anybody. In fact, if he tried to get anywhere near him, he'd run away. And finally, they were able to apprehend him about 6 months later after he was first spotted. I actually saw him at one point. Her, actually. She was named Pumpkin. And they got her. She was in a bathroom to a park that is actually part of this massive wilderness area owned by the East Bay Regional Park District. And they were able to get her de-ticked, de-liced, de-everything, get her in good shape, and now she's in a happy home, which is a great story. And I don't like jokes about any of dogs being hurt in any way, just so you know. I'm sensitive about that. Somebody made a very distasteful joke about the whole dog United Airlines thing on the radio station I work for, and I got very upset. I was offended.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles. No.
So finally, back to the tree story. On my street, as we go outside a Café Anyway, let's be around nature as I tell this story. So there's this huge birch tree, as I was talking about earlier, with the white trunk and the leaves. And trunk is an apropos word because I had to chop this. It was dead. This tree is dead. And it's been sitting there for months now. And I was a little bit worried because part of it was pushing against a one of those power lines that go to your house to give you power in your house. And I was a little worried about that. That's been that way for a while. And then around September of last year, this idiot kept showing up at my house going, I'll chop down the tree for you. I'll chop down the tree. And he looked very unkempt. And he doesn't have any papers. I don't know if he's licensed and bonded or anything like that. And he kept showing up. And like I was trying to go to bed one night around 7 o'clock because I get up so early. And he knocks on the door. Basil goes crazy. And this tree has been no end of anxiety for me. Well, yesterday I come home and I'm looking out my window and I look at the tree and I'm like, oh, it's tilting a little bit. Oh my God. The tree basically has fallen and it's being held up by two other trees on the front lawn of my house. And I go, oh my God. And it's right next to a sidewalk. And I'm like, that thing can fall on someone and then I'm going to be reported on Nextdoor. So I go, crap. I feed Basil real quick and because I just gotten home. Because you got to feed your dogs. Remember to do that, dog people. And I go, I got to get this thing done. So I have a buzzsaw, a chainsaw, and I've used it before because I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. And I go out there. Now, this is the thing, though. Speaking of trunk and elephants, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But where do you start? Where do you start biting? The butt? The trunk? I started on the trunk. It was basically, it was falling over by the roots at the very base of the tree. So it's being held up by these other trees. I'm like, okay, so basically I'm getting a reprieve from God. Thank you, God, for holding this tree in the trees. I can basically use that as like a scaffolding, like it's holding the tree up. So I get a ladder. I have actually two or three ladders. But I've got one, those kinds that fold out. I always forget the name of it. Is it a step ladder, the one that you use to paint like your walls in your house? It doesn't go that high up, but high enough. I just needed to get high enough on that trunk to start cutting and just start to relieve the tension and start splitting it up. My friend, it took me 3 hours. It was nerve-wracking, and my street gets a lot of cars driving by, and I started around 3 o'clock, and kids are coming home from school, and I put barricades on the sidewalk so kids aren't walking underneath me as I'm chopping up, even though some stupid idiot, not a kid, but a guy with his dog was like walking right under. I'm like, hey, I'm working on a tree here. I'm working on a tree. Timber, look out. And I actually yelled timber a couple of times when I knew something was going to start falling. So I chop up the tree, disconnect it from the trunk, from the ground, and I've got it hanging so now I'm just pulling apart the big branches out of the tree, and I'm kind of letting it go, getting out of the way, and as it falls and hits the sidewalk, it smashes into a million pieces. The easy thing about this whole task that I'm telling you as I wrap up the show is that it was a dead tree, and it's a birch tree, and they fall apart rather easily. They're like a big cracker, which is why I was like, I gotta get this out of the tree before this hurts anyone. The other trees. So, after 3 hours and me full of sawdust, and Basil picked up a stick, I would have posted that picture of what he picked. I let him outside, and he goes immediately over to one of the branches that fell down that was, and he picks it up, and he's walking around with it in his mouth, and we played fetch a little bit. And that's how dogs look at it. They don't look at if the glass is half full. They look at if there's a stick on the ground, a tree that has just fell. You pick up the sticks. Picking up sticks. And that's what life's all about, is picking up sticks and moving on. So, just to say, I was quite tired after the whole affair. I got to bed pretty late last night after going to Fairmont Ridge. And I am here today telling you that story. Was there times along the way I maybe thought about, I don't know, giving you a call saying, hey, can you come over and help me chop down this tree? I may have thought about that once or twice, but I had the situation under control the whole time. And that's how Mike Matthews rolls. And that's how we roll here at Café Anyway. Look out for that tree. Oh, no. We do have some trees falling here outside of Café Anyway, but just be careful of that. Hey, next show we're going to have the wonderful... Who is that going to be stopping by? Oh, Benita, the disgruntled fiddle player, and the brewmaster. Thank you for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!